We return to Ladies Can We Talk with host Debbie Georgatos.
I have great respect for the Catholic Church and great respect for the Pope. Both of my siblings happen to marry Catholics. I am not Catholic, but I've attended Catholic Mass many times in my life. In my dozens and dozens of first cousins, I have numerous who are Catholic. I've attended church with them. And so I have a very friendly, loving feel toward the Catholic Church. And I think that one thing of just a blessing to America by the Pope's visit was that many people who were not Catholic went out of their way to go hear him, to physically attend one of the times that he spoke, to tune in and watch online. When he, as he spoke to the Congress, there were and I saw articles on Facebook, I saw people posting saying, I'm not even Catholic. I thought it was great. So I think the Pope's visit served a wonderful unifying purpose. It also served a message because in America, especially in the American left, especially the current Democrat leadership, there is often talk and an attitude that somehow America is post-Christian, that we're just too smart for God, we don't need God anymore. Maybe we had a founding in this country, a historic founding based on freedom of religion, but that we can kind of push aside freedom of religion. Maybe we don't have to worry about that so much anymore. And I think it's a really, really important acknowledgement that America tuned in and wanted to hear what this Pope had to say. So I love those messages about the Pope's visit. I also wanted to mention that, I found a very interesting distinction that one of our GOP presidential candidates made, which is Marco Rubio, about the topics that Pope had to talk about. Because I did see, again, back to Facebook, I saw some people saying, I'm sick and tired of people criticizing the Pope. Why are you criticizing him? Well, I didn't see very much of that, but I do know that some positions the Pope took in his speaking, mainly specifically relating to socialism versus free markets, and relating to climate change, were unpopular with conservatives. So I wanted to mention one thing that Marco Rubio said, and then talk a little bit about those areas where people did have political disagreement with the Pope's message. Marco Rubio, who is a GOP presidential candidate, he's a senator from Florida, he made the point in a Fox News Channel interview. He said, as a Catholic, the Pope is the vicar of Christ, the successor of Peter, and the head of the church. And in theological matters, as a Catholic, I believe when he pronounces himself from the chair of Peter, which is actually very rare, that he is infallible in those decisions, in those issues. And that doesn't extend to political issues like the economy. So he gave examples, the Pope's positions on life and the sanctity of life, on the definition of marriage, on the importance of family. In those categories, Marco Rubio, a practicing Catholic, said, I see these views as infallible. By contrast, Marco Rubio said, I don't see his views on economic issues, his advocacy for socialism. He is fairly openly advocating socialism, not just on this visit, but throughout his speaking since he became Pope, and is very negative or critical about capitalism. So I thought that was an interesting springboard, and I think that just resonated with me as making a lot of sense. I did want to mention, though, then turning to the issues where there was controversy and some of the things that Pope had to say, I first want to talk about socialism. And I just think it's very interesting because we throw on words in the political economic jargon of socialism, free markets, capitalism, and there's not necessarily a agreed upon precise meaning of those terms. In this particular case, Pope Francis grew up in the South American country of Argentina. In the time he was growing up, Argentina they would say they were not socialist, so they would say they were capitalist. And that word capitalist has a lot of ugly, it sends some bad signals to some people of capitalism being a harsh thing. But what he observed in his growing up life in Argentina was not the same as free market capitalism. What he observed in Argentina growing up was crony capitalism, big business locking arms with big labor and unions and big government and controlling the economy. And folks, ladies and gentlemen, that's not free markets. And so when he denounces capitalism, I get it. He's saying I don't like what I saw and socialism sounds nicer. I do want to point out, though, something, and we will post this on the Ladies Can We Talk Facebook page and on our brand spanking new fabulous website, ladiescanwetalk.org. I'll post an article that was published by the American Enterprise Institute in which they quoted the previous 4 popes prior to this current Pope, Pope Francis, all of whom roundly, soundly denounced socialism. And so I think Marco Rubio's point about this, his socialist views are not church doctrine, not infallible church doctrine like things as things are, such as abortion and the subject of marriage. But Pope John XIII he was quoted Pope Pius XI in saying, he says, Pope Pius further emphasized the fundamental opposition between communism and Christianity and made it clear that no Catholic could subscribe even to moderate socialism. Pope John VI, that pope was Pope John the 18th. He was a pope from 1958 to 1963. And then Pope Paul VI from 1963 to 1978. Too often, Christians attracted by socialism tend to idealize it in terms which, apart from anything else, are very general: a will for justice, solidarity, and equality. They refuse to recognize the limitations of the historical socialist movements, which remain conditioned by ideologies from which they originated. And then Pope John Paul II, 1978 to 2005, spoke about socialism in very harsh, strong, denouncing terms. The fundamental error of socialism is anthropological in nature. Socialism considers the individual person as an element, a molecule within a social organism, so that the good of the individual is completely subordinated to the functioning of the socioeconomic mechanism. Well, I'm going to put a pause there. I could also read Pope Benedict, who was from 2005 to 2013, also had very, very harsh denouncement of socialism. And we're coming up to a break at this show, and I want to go on. This is my Speak Up for America segment. I'm going to pick it up after this break to talk just a little bit about what Pope Francis said in America about the environmental movement, because it's really important to understand that no one's arguing that we should destroy the planet or should not care. It's all a question of what are the facts that we've accepted or not accepted that then therefore shape our opinion. This is Debbie Georgatos, and Ladies Can We Talk on 660 AM The Answer. Please come back after the break and we'll talk more about Pope Francis' visit to the United States of America.